What's up, Sanctum? This week, we're going to talk about those 6 Bible verses the church tries to use to condemn us. As I said before, there are 6 verses in the Bible that a lot of churches have used to try to condemn homosexuality. Well, first of all, you have to understand that the word homosexuality was not in the Bible until 1946. This means that before that, when the Bible was actually written, there is no Hebrew or Greek word that actually translates to homosexual. That alone tells you that the Bible cannot condemn something when there wasn't even a word for it. So today we're going to look at those 6 verses and see what they actually say. I'm not going to go into too much detail, but I'm going to get straight to the point to help you guys out. So the first part of the Bible that we're looking at is the story of Sodom and Gomorrah. This can be found in Genesis chapter 19. Now, if you're not familiar with the story of Sodom and Gomorrah, let me summarize it for you. So 2 angels were sent down to Sodom to see if the city could be saved, or rather if anyone in the city could be saved, because God was thinking about destroying the cities because of sin. Most people think that the sin they are condemning is homosexuality, but that's not the case at all. So the angels came down, and when they entered the city, no one welcomed them into their home, no one was hospitable or friendly towards them, except for one man. His name was Lot. So Lot took these angels into his home, and he fed them and gave them shelter for the night. Well, when everyone in town heard about this, the men became very angry, and they came and started a mob in front of Lot's house, demanding that Lot send the angels out so that they may know them. Some people believe that know actually refers to having sex with them. This word in Hebrew for know is actually used in the Bible about 946 times, and only about 10 of those times is it actually referring to sex. So whether or not this particular verse is about having sex is not truly apparent, because it's really hard to decipher whether or not that's what they meant. Could say that this angry mob was going to do some sort of abuse to these men, whether it was a gang rape, whether it was physically beating them to death. Either way, it was not going to look good for them. End of the story, Lot escapes with the angels and God destroys the city. The real sin of Sodom and Gomorrah was inhospitality and not helping the poor. It's actually referred to in another book in the Bible, Ezekiel chapter 16, verses 48 through 49. It actually references the sin of Sodom and Gomorrah. So if you really want to know what the Bible's saying about it, it kind of references itself in that book of the Bible, and it does not pertain to homosexual sex. Now, the next verses in the Bible used to condemn homosexuality are actually found in Leviticus 18:22 and Leviticus 20:13. A man should not lie with another man as one lies with a woman, for that is an abomination. Or a man that lies with another man as with a woman will be stoned to death, or needs to be stoned to death because of the law. So when you study the Bible, you really have to understand what was going on at that time. See, in this time in Leviticus, the Israelites took a holiness code so that they would be seen as holy compared to everyone else in the land. The Canaanites, the Egyptians, anybody they came across, they wanted to be set apart. And also they were trying to populate themselves. So if a man is having sex with another man, he's not able to reproduce. So any man that took this holiness code and had sex with another man was breaking the law of the time, which is why they would have stoned him. But a lot of other things were called abominations in this book, like eating pork and men shaving their beards and things of that nature. And all in all, whether or not this law was pertaining to homosexual sex, this was in the Old Covenant. This was before Christ. So when Jesus came and died on the cross, he actually created a new covenant, and the Old Covenant went away. So whether or not this was condemning homosexual sex and whether or not it would pertain to modern day Christians, it doesn't anymore, because when Jesus died, that Old Covenant went away and the New Covenant came about. If it hadn't, we'd still be sacrificing animals, and we obviously don't do that anymore. So now we're going to jump into the New Testament, and we're going to start with Romans 1:26 and 27. In this verse, it talks about men having sex with men and women abandoning their natural sexual desires and having sex with one another. What Paul was actually referring to was not homosexual sex. He was talking about the cultic practices that were going on in that day. There were these temples where there were priests and priestesses, and worshipers would come in and actually have sex with these priests and priestesses as rituals in order to get what they wanted. You know, whether they wanted their crops to grow or whether they were praying to their God for whatever they wanted. And it was seen as detestable, and it was seen as idolatry, because obviously in the Bible it says, "Thou shalt not have any other God before me." So the real truth of the matter and the real sin in all of this is idolatry, not homosexual sex in itself. Passages of the Bible that we're going to look at come from 1 Corinthians 6:9 and 1 Timothy 1 verses 9 and 10. So in the first one, it's talking about how the unrighteous shall not inherit the kingdom of God, nor idolaters, nor homosexuals, and it goes on to list some other things. In Timothy, it actually talks about that the law was not made for the lawful, but the unlawful, and it goes and lists things like murderers and then supposedly homosexuals. Well, it's not really talking about homosexuals, because like I said before, there was no Greek word for homosexual or homosexuality. Actually, what that Greek word is probably referring to is rape or prostitution. Back in the day, they would actually use young boys as prostitutes, and older men and sometimes older women would go and sleep with them. So that's actually referring to pedophilia and rape, not loving homosexual relationships. So as you can see, there are no verses in the Bible that actually condemn homosexuality. If you guys are going about your lives in love and finding someone that you want to spend the rest of your life with, then you're on the right track. You're not sinning, you're not doing anything wrong. The greatest commandment in the Bible is to love. As long as you're doing that, you're good. I really hope this video was helpful, guys. I know it's not super in detail, but if you want to go more into detail, you should read books like What the Bible Really Says About Homosexuality. I've talked about this book before. And also God's Gay Agenda, written by my pastor, awesome book. And also there's another book called God and the Gay Christian. So you guys have plenty of options to really delve more into what the Bible's actually saying about it and making yourselves feel better. I know when I was first coming out, I was trying to be okay with myself and with my Christianity and with God and all that stuff. So those verses in the Bible used to scare me. But now I know the truth and I'm good. So I hope you guys are good too. Have a great week, guys. I love you. God bless you. You're awesome.